you and got up and walked away? Or would an awesome story to come out of that meeting be that he pulled a 1911 and shoved it in a guy's face? 1911's a way better fucking story. So that's kind of where John was coming from in a lot of this stuff. And if you guys stick around and watch the doc, you can kind of see where we're going with it.
Has anybody, I mean, this is kind of a stupid question, but one of the reasons we did start this documentary is based on this question. Has anybody not heard of John Milius? Well, that's pretty kind of awesome. Good. Yeah, it's awesome because when you watch the film, part of that whole idea was reintroducing John Milius, especially to a younger generation, including myself. Not that I'm from the younger generation because I am older, but the idea was I didn't have a lot of information on John, and I love movies. And when we first started doing some research, I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So the really cool thing about the process of this doc, which took a little over 4 years, and that's just because it was a lot. Not necessarily we were shooting straight for 4 years, but there was a lot of waiting for interviews that would take maybe a request that took maybe a year or even a year and a half till lockdown. And that was thanks to Ken. He was constantly on the phone bugging everybody. But anyways, go back to what I was saying. It's like during the process of the documentary, I got to really know who John Milius was on both levels. Like we said, there's two sides of John. There's the industry John that everybody knows as Milius, and there's a personal John, the sweet, loyal teddy bear dude who's known as just John. And hopefully we've explored in depth both sides of that character, and maybe you guys can ask us afterwards.
I don't want you guys to give away too much, because very few people have seen the film.
Sure.
But you've worked on other documentaries.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, just like Zach said earlier, we never intended to get into the documentary way of storytelling. It was by total random mistake. It was not even a mistake. We were working, like we said, with Kevin Smith. I was working with Zach on Jersey Girl. Right after Jersey Girl was the 20th?
20th.
Or 10th?
15th anniversary, wasn't it?
It was actually, I think it was the 10th, 2004.
2006.
Yeah. So the 10th anniversary re-release DVD of Clerks, Kevin's first movie. That's right. No, the Green Hornet came after that. We did the Clerks doc first, and then so a guy by the name of Phil Benson was going to do a feature-length documentary on the entire Clerks story from inception to basically how it got received by the independent film community and where it's at present day. And we were working in the office, and he goes, "Hey guys, I'm gonna do this documentary. Are you guys interested?" And look, I have absolutely no idea.
We needed work too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I have absolutely no idea what to do. So he goes, "Okay." Panasonic kind of was sponsoring the whole project, and they're like, "Joey, you're gonna learn the camera. Zach, you're gonna learn sound, and both of you guys are gonna learn lighting." So our friend Dave Klein, who actually shot a bunch of Kevin Smith's movies, he gave us a crash course in lighting, which like literally 2 hours.
You'd be the judge.
Yeah, you'd be the judge.
Same techniques.
And we shot probably 400 hours of footage in maybe 3 weeks. And we went from New Jersey, New York, LA, Washington, back to New Jersey, back to LA, back to New York. I mean, we were just going back and forth in 3 weeks, which was an awesome experience. But here's the part that's kind of insane. It's like everything was still shot on tape. So every time we shot for the whole day, we'd have to go back to the hotel and copy and basically transfer everything to have a backup.
In real time.
In real time. Now we got P2 and digital. It's really quick. So it was constant, long days. Awesome experience. When it was all said and done, Kevin looked at us in the final project that he loved it. He's like, "You guys just had this was your film school." Because I didn't go to film school, Zach didn't go to film school. Actually, I dropped out of high school in 11th grade. Everything was self-taught that we've learned in this industry. It's all hands-on. And that was an amazing experience for me, and I can say for Zach too. It's like, that definitely was like our film school. It was a crash course in how to make movies. But making a documentary is a completely different way of storytelling. You really don't have your story until in the middle of you shooting. Okay, it's starting to take shape now. You can have an idea what you want to shoot. Same thing with Milius. When you'll see it, we won't give it away, but it took a completely different turn. Originally, the way we had it planned and structured and scripted. So, that's kind of one of the docs we worked on.
I mean, that's the big thing with documentaries with us is I love editing. I love it to death. That's why I love editing all our projects and everything, because it's you kind of create the idea. You know, Joey and I usually come up with something, we kind of create it there. Then as we're shooting it, you're kind of writing it again. And then as you're editing, it's your final writing step. And we've never said, okay, we're going to do A, B, and C. It's always, it ends up being D, A, and Z. It's never the same. And I mean, we did most of our documentaries, I mean, all of them really, except for Milius, have been on Kevin's behind the scenes DVDs and stuff like that. Like we did a Chasing Amy Blu-ray where we did the entire story of Chasing Amy from when Mallrats tanked to when it came out and put Kevin, you know, back where Kevin kind of was at Sundance.
But they were all feature length instead of that 15-minute like.
Yeah.
We decided we're gonna go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. I just wanted to say real quick, but they're all feature length because the whole idea we had when we first started, we're like, why don't we do it like we did Snowball Effect, which was the documentary for Clerks X, where it was like, it's a feature length documentary. Usually you get that 15-minute quick EPK making of on the DVD. So we're like, try to take a different approach. We're gonna follow it from conception to the actual release, and we followed Kevin from the production meetings and all the way until it actually released in theaters and premiered at Cannes when we did Clerks 2. So that was an idea, and part of that, there really wasn't a lot of movies being promoted online. Kind of weird. That's like in 2006 they weren't doing that as much as they are now. We did like 80 plus 3 to 5 minute video diaries of the entire process. So like in real time, the audience and the fans can kind of tune in to see what was happening throughout the whole process. And we would shoot stuff and edit it and post it within probably a day and a half. So the audience was kind of like, it's real time. Hadn't been done before. And we ended up with like 80-something short films that we did in the course of probably a little under a year, following the entire process. So I forgot why I took the mic from you, but the thing was that all the behind the scene documentaries that we've done with Kevin have all been feature length, so they're really in depth. And when we did the retrospective ones, same thing, feature length. So it's kind of like cool to really dig into like the stories that people don't know, and it's not just the whole like, hey, I'm on set, and this is great, and everybody's, you know, is there any kids in here? Everybody's jerking each other off. It's all nice and sweet, you know. This is like the full. This is.
There's one kid. Hi,
kids.
kids.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Give the mic to Ken.
Well, besides what you just did, I have a question. In that early process of doing the early documentaries, is there anything that you learned not to do? Mistakes you made not to repeat on the projects that came out?
I mean, the weird thing is for us, since we didn't go to film school, we were kind of completely self-taught. And it was really Kevin and Scott, and really heavy on Scott Mosier. Yeah, watch the doc, you'll be able to see. We never got to learn the right way how to do things. It was always, well, just go do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I really kind of like that, because a lot of people I know who went to film school, and I'm not shitting on film school, believe me. John Milius and Spielberg, all these guys went to film school, so I'm not Spielberg, but Lucas. Film school has its place. But it seems like we never learned the right way to do it, but at the same time, we never learned the wrong way. We just kind of learned our way to do it. And I think that's whether you go to film school or not, as a filmmaker, you have to find your way to do it. You know, we didn't have a big budget on Milius. Matter of fact, for the first 2 years or 3 years, we didn't have any budget. It was strictly Ken, Joey, and me until we found executive producers. We have over 60 interviews. Every interview is a minimum of a half hour long, and I was editing. We didn't transcribe any of the interviews because we didn't have the money, because that would have been like 30 grand. Yeah, so I'm doing everything off notes that I've made, and I've got a stack of yellow legal pads, and then what's in my head, because I was there for all the interviews except for 2. So it's certain things like, and now I work better that way. Plus, as an editor, I have to know every single inch of that footage, no matter where it is, and I have to go and grab it. I have to go find it and find that word and do this stuff. So film school would say, that's crazy, you can't do the movie then. But if you don't know and you're stupid like we were, sure, we can do that, and I can make a movie. So that's kind of, I mean, certain little tricks and things like that, I can pass off lots of bad habits for all you guys. But yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things where film school or no film school, mistakes, and you kind of find your own path, I think.
And I also just want to reiterate, I would have loved to have gone to film school. And I'm not crapping on it at all. I mean, if I was able to afford to go, I would have gone, definitely. One of the things you don't do when you're shooting a documentary is fall asleep during an interview while holding a boom mic.
Oh. That was my first time! Oh.
Okay, so I'll tell a story really quick.
Explain that one. Yeah, you need to tell that story.
I gotta preface it just from the night before. It was my very first time in New York, and Scott Mosier was Kevin's producer at the time. He's like, hey, it's Joey's first night in New York. Let's go take him out for a drink. So I was like, you know, I'm a kid. I'm not a kid, but I was like, oh, my first time. I felt like a kid. I was like, yeah. So I was like, this is awesome. A couple drinks turned into a few more drinks, and then all of a sudden the bars are closing, and the bar connected to our hotel, she just closed the door and let us keep drinking. Next thing you know, we're completely sloshed and hammered, and it's like 7:15, 7:30 in the morning, and we have to be prepped and ready to go upstate New York at 8:30. Whoa. I go take a 15-minute power nap and a cold shower, and he goes to his room, and he goes, I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to take a power nap, cold shower, and we're ready to rock. Honestly, and I hate to say this because it should never happen, you know, I was still kind of drunk, and I had to drive to upstate New York. I felt like I was okay. I don't condone that. It's just one of those things that it just happened, and this guy would not get out of his room. I'm pounding on his door, and this is a really important interview. I don't know if you guys know who John Pearson is. He's really a big influence in the independent film.
Wrote a book called Spike Mike, Slackers and Dykes. It was about he found Spike Lee.
He found Spike Lee, he found Kevin. He was really big in that 90s independent film movement, and a lot of guys attribute their career to him. And we were going to interview the godfather of independent film.
Oh, and his wife runs South by Southwest now. Which we were just that, so it didn't go that bad.
I'll be quick with this story because it will take a long. So I'll try to be quick so I don't bore the hell out of you. So there's a couple of things. It was freezing cold at that time, and when we got there, I mean, we're just kind of like not there. I have to drive, and he's in the back sleeping. Okay, and I'm like, the whole time I just want to punch him in the face. Like, if I have to stay up, you have to stay up, you know. So we get there. It's a long drive. Of course, we get lost, and it's freezing cold. When we get to John Pearson's house, inside his house is like 85 degrees. So, kind of being hung over in that from cold to hot, we're like, oh, hell no, man, this is not going to happen.
Like right now.
So, I'm running camera. We get it all set up. I'm running camera. He's running boom mic, and our friend Phil Benson is actually doing the interview. Okay, the interview, we're like, okay, we're going to do an interview for an hour, and then we're going to get out of here. We're good. And no, it was a 6-hour interview. Okay.
It was an hour-and-a-half documentary. He was insane.
I'm literally pinching myself behind camera so I can stay up. I'm like this, you know. And I have also got some headphones on, and Zach's got headphones on. He's holding the boom mic, and he's like this. And I turn around, and he's on the couch like this. And then all of a sudden I hear, and the boom mic's down here. I'm like, Zach. I'm like, you're sleeping? He goes, no, I wasn't. Like, yeah, you were, dude. I thought he was fired. I thought, since we're kind of like the whole package thing here, like, dude, you just screwed me out of my job right now, dude. It was one of those stories that kind of we joke around for the rest of the experience of making that documentary. But yes, one of the things you don't do when you're working on a film or a documentary and you're running boom mic, you don't fall asleep. You suck it up like a man. Whoa. Which you did not.
I can't say anything because it's right. I got nothing to say with it. I tried pulling my hat like, oh, my head's really heavy. I'll pull my hat forward. That was it.
I just love the fact that you said, no, it wasn't.
Yeah,
yeah, you were.
It wasn't. It's like R. Kelly. Wasn't me. Didn't do it. Do you guys have any questions of us? That might be the better way to do this.
I was wondering.
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering if you guys had anything to do with those college
things that Kevin Smith did. You know, where he,
Oh, like the evening with?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. We didn't do the first two. We didn't do evening with one or evening with two. We did the next three. We did a 3 evening with Kevin Smith, Too Fat for 40, and Burn in Hell. We did those, and then we did. We've got, like I said, over the last. I've been with Kevin, or I was with Kevin for like 12 years. Joey was with him for like 10. So, because I worked on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, that's where I got hooked up with him. I was a production secretary. I went to work in visual effects after that, and that was like a year of that. And then on Jersey Girl, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the whole Gigli Jersey Girl Bennifer thing, but that was a 6-month job because I was the post-production coordinator, and that was a 6-month job that turned into an 18-month job. It was long. We did test screenings in Bennifer, and I mean, everybody kind of lived through it. So, but during that time, it was the first time, that was where Joey and I were kind of like, you know, this thing, the internet, they're doing movies, we should do that. Because Kevin was going to do Green Hornet. Kevin was going to do Green Hornet, and he was going to go to Prague. He's like, I'm going to bring you guys to Prague. I like you guys, I'm going to bring you to Prague. It's like, all right, cool, but we just didn't want to be over there filing paperwork. We were like, wait, let's make some movies and put them on the net. Maybe like behind the scenes stuff, maybe we'll do some creative stuff, all that kind of music. Yeah, so that's kind of where, I don't know how they like got off on that topic.
Then you did the Clerks 2 shorts.
Yeah, and then we did all the Clerks 2 stuff. I mean, and anything Kevin had kind of done up until Red State, we were kind of involved with. So.
Very cool. Question here.
What camera did you shoot this on?
We shot this with the Panasonic HVX 200, which 5 years ago when we started doing the interviews wasn't particularly that old. Now it's ancient. Like, that's the thing, like, I mean, now it kind of drives us nuts as filmmakers, and I try to take myself out of it, look at it and go, it looks great for what it is and what we had to work with and everything else, but now I'm seeing guys who had far less resources with a much better picture. Like the D5 kind of changed the way documentary film looks, especially at a certain budget line, because the glass that you can get is insane.